Welcome to Let's Talk Money, Honey, the podcast where we break down the barriers to financial success.
I'm Elise Levy here with Holly Henry, and we're your hosts, two financial advisors on a mission to demystify investing, unravel the complexities of money, and sprinkle a little wisdom into your life.
Whether you're a seasoned investor or just dipping your toes into the world of finance, join us once a month as we discuss how to navigate life's financial twists and turns. Just remember, building wealth and living your best life should be empowering, not intimidating.
So listen up and let's talk money, honey. All right, welcome back to Let's Talk Money, Honey. We're continuing on our career series and doing a little bit of a pivot and talking about Henrys. Holly, what is a Henry for people who might not know?
Stop, my last name is Henry, so
We're not talking about you.
literally, I'm like, this is all about me. No, so a Henry in our world, it is a high earner, not rich yet. And so I feel like this falls, and there's so many people these days. I mean, one, just shout out to those 20s and 30s that are like killing it in their career. And we see a lot of that. And so we just kind of wanted to do this episode specifically for them because I feel like that's a big chunk of our clients. Elise, would you agree?
And I think it's like going even into like the full millennial spectrum.
Yeah.
So like if even into your 40s.
Yes.
Holly, are you a millennial too?
I am.
Okay.
I am. So like, let's not make
I'm
me
not gonna
old.
tell you, I'm not gonna say you don't have to say how old you are.
No, I'm not 40 yet. I'm not. There's not a big milestone birthday, but it will be 40 this year.
Yeah, but I think like really looking at those people who you've been working so hard, you've really gotten so far in your career, and all of a sudden you wake up and you're making six figures and
Yes.
you're like, oh my gosh, I have all this income coming in. Where is it going?
Yes. Yes. And I feel like when we see how much we make at times, it is very easy to do that. Very easy. So I think that's the whole reason why, because a lot of times when we meet with these Henrys, it's a lot of times they're not even preparing for retirement. They have done so well, sometimes so fast, and their spouse is doing so well that they haven't taken the time to really sit down and be like, what do we do to maximize this amazing opportunity that's landed on them?
100%. And I think like a big thing that happens, and I know like I can speak from experience, it's like the switch from going paycheck to paycheck and you're just living off of rice and beans. And then all of a sudden you're making a lot more money, but you don't really know what to do with it. It happens really quick and it's really easy to just continue just living in kind of an unintentional lifestyle and just start spending because that's what you're supposed to do and keep up with the
Yes.
lifestyle that you're supposedly going to have. So I think like everything we're going to talk about today is just kind of resetting and like saying these are core things to focus on that I think will be really helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree because I do feel like, and it's even been a problem of mine, you get that raise, you get the more money in your income. Um, and then guess what? I need a name brand purse. My lifestyle gets bigger,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it can almost get too big. So that's what we're like, let's have this conversation of instead of your lifestyle getting big, instead of your expenses getting bigger, if you really want to maximize financially, step one, and this is a big step, but I think we really need to be getting maxing out our retirement plans if at all possible, getting as close as you can, putting as much money back, especially for these people that are 20s, 30s, early 40s. Like, it will pay off in dividends.
100%. And I think like the easiest way to do this and write this down. So figure out whatever your employer is matching. So let's say they match 5%. That is your starting point, and you're going to do 5%. And then you're going to up it by 1% every year until you're maxing it out. It's that simple.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. You know your plan, and you know eventually you're going to get there. And it's easy once you start doing it. And 1% a year is pretty minimal. You won't really notice a difference. and it'll get you to that goal over time. So I think like such an easy one step, you're done, and put that off and
Mhm.
check it off.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Our goal is to definitely get you paying more attention to your retirement accounts.
Yep. And so, speaking of retirement accounts, what's the other retirement account that we love these young people to have or start funding if they
Yeah.
haven't had one yet?
Yeah, so we have like episodes just specifically on this, and it is a Roth IRA. I mean, I feel like this is something that we just cannot talk enough about. And I will say that not a lot of employer plans. There are some that offer a Roth 401k, but
Yeah, that's becoming more popular for
it
sure.
is becoming more popular because I do feel like, as we've said it before, this is a golden ticket. This is something that I feel like the majority, and I'm going to say one size fits all. The majority of people do need to take advantage of, but I feel like because it's still kind of newish,
Hmm.
that people still aren't quite aware. So if you do not have access to a Roth 401k, talk to us. We can do a Roth IRA for you. And this, again, I feel like you're still probably going to be in the high income bracket when you're retirement. So this is why we feel like this is key.
Yeah, and I think too, it's like there is an income limit associated with the Roth IRA. If you make above a certain number, you can't contribute in the just traditional Roth. You have to do a backdoor Roth. So doing it now while you're young, and it's just like a simple, you can do $7,000 a year. Those numbers change, but do it now and get that going and give it time to grow and, compound interest on itself. And it's a win-win situation. And there's nothing wrong with that. And the other thing I was going to say is off of what Holly was saying, and I forgot. So we'll move on.
Hey, it happens. It happens. But I will say, like with the Roth IRA, again, we just cannot talk enough about it. And if you are in a Henry situation to where you are making so much money, like you really do want to reach out to us about a Roth IRA and see if this is something. And again, there's no excuse. A lot of people hear the income limits and they think I'm not eligible. But again, as Elise said, there is a backdoor option to getting a Roth IRA. So in the end, we can get these set up for anyone.
Yeah. And I think like all of this, like saving for retirement and stuff, I really like to think of it as self-care. I know that's kind of strange, but you're really paying yourself first before you're paying everybody else.
Mhm.
And you're really setting yourself up for success. And so it's like just like we're on the airplane, you need to put your mask on first before you can put on other people's. So it's like if you're taking care of your future self and building these retirement assets, then you can be a support to yourself, your spouse, and help with their future or your kids in their future, your parents. I know we have a lot of sandwich generation, but it's really key that you're taking care of yourself first. And
Mhm.
that's why it's so important to really look at these two kind of retirement accounts and fund them for yourself because you deserve to think of your future positively and know that you can retire one day.
Yes, absolutely. And I will say, as a mom, and I do talk a lot about minor Roth IRAs. I mean, if you hear anything on um, Instagram or Facebook, I love minor IRAs. But one thing that Elise said that is so key is you have to take care of yourself first. Like the one thing you don't want to do is to set up something for your children, because us as moms, we normally like to put money back for the kids, or we like to buy the $300 bats or the 800, whatever it is. And sometimes we neglect taking care of ourselves. And one of the worst things that I think we can do as a parent is end up getting at retirement and our kids are going to have to financially pitch in. That's the last thing that we want to do, especially if we are bringing in a lot of money.
100%. And I think that leads right into our next conversation where, okay, we're starting to make all this money. It's time to start diversifying our assets. So, up until this point, your biggest asset was your car. And so now you're getting into a stage of life where you're buying houses, you have your retirement accounts now. You might be purchasing rental properties, you might be doing non retirement. And I think that's also great because at this point, instead of having this one bucket of maybe just savings, now we have all these different buckets and all these different strategies that we're starting to fund because we're trying to build this like holistic picture now.
Yeah, and we've talked about this on previous videos. It's important to bring your team together.
Yeah.
And I think it is just equally as important for Henry's. And I think so many of us have had this mindset of, okay, we're paycheck to paycheck and we don't want to spend any money. We're getting used to like this money coming in. But you really have to have an insurance agent. You have to have an accountant. You have to have a financial, like make sure you're working with the right people to actually secure the the future that you're setting up for yourself.
100%. I think it's like the value added mindset. So, if you've been filing your own taxes for years because it's cheaper,
Mhm.
I I challenge you to go work with an accountant for 1 year and see if you get a bigger tax return, what advice they give you, because it's
Yes.
such a value added service. And same with working with a financial advisor. We have a lot of young people who want to do it themselves. It's like the DIY mindset, but I challenge you to work with a financial advisor because their value added services will pay off in dividends. They
Yeah.
see things from a different perspective than you do, and they are professionals at this. And so, like, really going to those resources that are available to you, that's how you go from a Henry to a high income earner, and I am rich now. So
Yes.
that's
Yes.
it's really key, I think.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that people forget, even this time of the year, is if you're a Henry, chances are you may be owing taxes. And so you have to have that accountant to go, if I make a deposit or a contribution into a traditional IRA, what does my taxes look like? There are still things that you can do after January 1 that impacts your taxes for the previous year. But if you're not aware of this, very simple questions that it could save you a lot of money.
100%. Play the game.
I think. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so what next? What should our Henrys be thinking about?
So we're going to also talk to you about investing in non-retirement accounts, just plain Jane everyday accounts that you can get that money at any point. But we're going to assume that you've put back plenty of money for an emergency fund. And so this is the money that's above that. This is the money that you've got sitting there that if you don't do something with, you're going to probably buy a new vehicle, a bigger house, something that you really just don't need. So we're going to tell you, okay, let's start investing into just a non-retirement account.
Yeah, and I think like I have a lot of people that ask, how do I retire early? If I'm putting all this money into retirement accounts and I can't access them until I'm 59 and a half, how are these people who are retiring at 50 or 45 doing it? And the answer is non-retirement assets.
Mhm.
So they work differently than retirement accounts, but they can be held in an individual name, a joint name, and a name of a trust. And then the money you put in is after tax. And then the only tax you pay is capital gains tax when you take money out if something has made a gain. But that's a really great tool and resource to start building your wealth when you're in that accumulation phase, and something to really learn about and understand.
And I have some clients that they just absolutely hate the idea of locking money up till they're 59 and a
Oh,
half.
yeah.
And so if this is the case, I mean, again, this is the reason you sit down with a financial advisor. We do have these other options that we can look at. If you just are absolutely going to refuse to do a retirement account, then we do have other options.
100%. Okay, and then before we wrap up, I really wanted to go over just like key pitfalls that we have seen young people or, 30s, 40s people make. And so maybe hopefully people who listen to this avoid them.
Absolutely. So we're going to start off with a pretty common one, and it is just being overinsured. And again, I cannot stress this enough. This is one of the reasons why you work with a financial advisor that does the holistic planning for you, because we're going to come in and we're going to look at your insurance plans and we're going to say, yeah, this makes sense, or no, it doesn't. And for me personally, there are insurance agents that I recommend for my clients that I think would be good fits. And it is very easy though. We see this a lot with like life insurance policies, especially. It is very easy to be sold something that is way too expensive for you, and you can be overinsured without even knowing it.
100%. And I think like, we always talk about our yearly money date that we encourage our clients to have with themselves, but also like that's what we do in our annual reviews with you. we go through everything. And I think, this year, bring your insurance stuff to your financial advisor because it is really good to go through. I just went through this with myself and looking at my car policy, looking at my house policy, making sure all those numbers line up and are right.
Mhm.
And you're paying the right amount because you could have not enough coverage, you could
Yes.
have too much coverage, as Holly was saying, and really understanding what's right for you. And if you're a single individual or a couple without kids, chances are you don't need a lot of life insurance at that specific moment. Maybe you have a unique situation, but talking with your financial advisor about it, getting a good insurance agent, it's really great to just have those conversations because chances are, scare tactics are out there and people try to make it sound like a big scary world. And chances are you're fine. And
Right.
don't
Right.
overspend where you don't need to, where we could be putting that money into something else like retirement, for example.
These are just such important conversations to be having with your financial advisor.
Totally. Okay, and then the second one, you kind of started talking about it earlier, Holly, but it's that lifestyle creep. And I think the biggest thing, like we were talking about this earlier today, but I think with social media, there is such a high level of like this idea of the lifestyle you're supposed to have at a certain age, and a certain income level. And it's really easy to watch all these influencers and be like, well, I want that outfit. I want that
Mhm.
car. And like, I'm guilty of it too.
Yes.
Um, and what happens is credit cards, right?
Yes. So easy to swap. And let me tell you, and I didn't go into the story prior to this, but I went to Dallas this past weekend. And for those of you that know me, I live in like a population of 400. We do not have malls. And so I went walking this beautiful mall that had all these name brand stores and everything looked shiny and beautiful. And before I knew it, I had compiled a list of everything that I needed. needed. And so I really literally had to go, I need to get out. I need to get out before I go and buy a Louis Vuitton purse that it's going to cost me a couple of grand and then I'll regret it later. But truly, like, social media makes it so easy. TikTok, Amazon, everything is like at the click of the button. And before you know it, like, it's bought and you're committed. And so I just feel like, yeah, it's a very easy with credit cards now to get them way over your head, and you don't even realize it till it's too late.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like, a lot of these Henrys do have credit card debt. And we're not here to shame you and say, like, you messed up. Holly and I are really here to just hear what your financial position is. And it's not our job to judge you, it's our job to kind of lead you on the path back
Yes.
to financial stability. And so, if you have a lot of debt, we're going to help you work through that. And you're not the only one. We have a whole episode on debt for this reason. I
We
think we
do.
have a whole webinar on debt, um, because it's real and it happens to a lot of people and it happens really quickly. Um,
Mhm.
and it is important to get out of. And I think like we're always going to talk about your emergency fund because that's such a powerful tool for combating debt. And then like paying off that high interest debt, it's going to be really critical as you try to build your wealth because otherwise it's going to be hard to kind of get off that level of living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, and I have found that even a lot of Henrys can still go paycheck to paycheck. It doesn't matter how much money they make. And so if you're in that situation where you're a high net worth earner and you're living paycheck to paycheck, it is so important to bring in a financial advisor and go, what are we doing wrong? Because I think sometimes it is so easy to get caught up in having payments that before you know it, everything is out of control and you're neglecting your retirement. And we've got to scale it back because retirement is something that I just feel like can't be neglected, but yet in a lot of cases, young people, that's the first thing that they neglect. And by the time that they're getting back to retirement and thinking on it, it's 50s, it's 60s, it's almost too late.
100%. And I really encourage everyone to check out our FOO. It's our financial order of operations. And so anyone trying to like get on their feet financially, it's literally a checklist of everything you need to
Yeah.
do in the order you should do it. And it's really helpful. You know, if you have 10 credit cards, get rid of 8 of them. You do not need all of those. And they're just good little steps that kind of help you work to a good starting point. Okay, so I know we can talk about credit cards for hours. What is the last pitfall we want to discuss.
And I kind of touched on it a little bit. It is the people that is avoiding saving for retirement. They're spending their money elsewhere. And you just kind of forget the secret sauce to investing, which is compound interest. So the earlier we can get you in, the earlier we can set a financial plan for you, the better off that you will be. And I truly think there are so many people that they are making so much money that they don't know what to do with it, but they're not bringing the right people in on their team. And so, one, we will probably always tell you to save for retirement.
100%. And I think like, a lot of people are, I can save for retirement when I'm 50 and I can do a bunch in those 10 years or 15 years and I'll be totally fine. And the truth is you might not because the power of compound interest, you shouldn't ignore that. And I think like for us, when we look at young people, we're saying you have 30 years, you have 40 years to sit back and let this money grow and do its thing. And I think that's a tool in itself. So even if you can't contribute the full amount, and I have people say that, well, I can't contribute $7,000 a year. That's fine. Let's do what you can contribute, and
Yes.
you're giving it so much time to grow. And so,
Mhm.
like the person who is doing $100 a month right now is going to be so much better off in the long run than the person who waits till they're 50 because time in the market is really like the secret to success in this world
Yeah.
of retirement and investing. Um, so we really encourage you, even if you're not going to make like the amount of contributions you want to, anything is better than nothing.
Yeah, and we did an entire video on small business owners, but I feel like so many small business owners are Henrys. And I just want to say so many the people type their business and think I'm going to sell it and that's going to be my retirement. Because I'm going to be honest, like when I plan for my retirement, I'm like I'm going to sell my cabins and that's going to be a big chunk of it. But in reality, that's not a great plan. And even I know that because sometimes, especially these properties, these businesses, it is more valuable to me because it is my blood, sweat, and tears that have built it than the person next to us. And so we need to make sure, and this is something that we're going to talk to everyone, is let's figure out the value of your retirement. Let's make sure you don't have everything just tied up into your business. And let's make sure you have these accounts over here that you can get to at any point.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's an argument I have all the time with my clients. I mean
Yes.
this very lovingly, but they're like, "Oh no, next year we're going to start funding our retirement." I'm like, "Why? Why? Like let's just do the amount you can do this year and start today." So I think of anything that's what we're going to encourage as we close the video. It's like
Yes.
whatever account you have, start it today. Start funding it. It doesn't matter how much and you can always build on that. And that's
Yes.
really the key to success.
Yes. And I think, again, like the only other thing that I want to say before we close this up is, as Elise mentioned, we are here to listen and guide and not judge. Like, this is not our role. People come to us with messes all the time, and that's okay because we get it. We can get how things spiral out of control. What that doesn't mean, though, is you keep putting it off because you're embarrassed. Like, or life is going on. At this point, it's like, let's make 2025 a fantastic year, and we are going to start now.
Yeah, I love that. All right, so we mentioned a lot of other great videos with good content. So check out our YouTube page. You'll find our Roth IRA video on there. You'll find our Foo video out on there. Seriously, such a great resource if you're just starting out and want to learn more. And then you can reach out to Holly or I with your additional questions. And tune in next time. Thank you.